Good afternoon. We're going to thank you for your patience, and I want to thank for his patience our good friend Bruno Lemarquis, who, if we could put up on the screen, is speaking to you from Kinshasa, I assume. He is the humanitarian coordinator for the United Nations in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Also, just on the Congo, I want to flag to you that Bintou Keita, the special representative, the Secretary General, will be briefing the Security Council on the situation in the Congo this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So, Bruno, welcome. Thank you for your patience, and let's go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. I just want to make sure you hear me correctly.
Not only do we hear you, but we see you.
Okay. Thank you, Stefan. Nice to see you. Dear members of the media, good afternoon and greetings from Kinshasa. I'm pleased to share with you today a brief update on the humanitarian situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. First, I will give you some brief context. The year 2023 has been pivotal to the DRC, with the presidential and legislative election that took place in December 2023. President Tshisekedi was sworn in for a second term in January. The year has also been marked by the beginning of the disengagement of MONUSCO, following the agreement reached between the government of the DRC and the United Nations, and also the concomitant transition of the United Nations in the DRC. The country's security landscape has also worsened. The resurgence of hostility in eastern DRC, especially in North Kivu, is deeply concerning. Violent clashes between the group called M23 and the Congolese armed forces, FARDC in acronym, have intensified, leading to severe humanitarian consequences and displacement. Just over the past few days, the latest clashes around a town called Sake, which is 20 kilometers from Goma, the capital of North Kivu. Those clashes have forced many people to flee their homes, joining the already 1.3 million people who have been displaced as a result of the M23 crisis since 2022, 1.3 million, with around half of them in the vicinity of Goma, living in crowded sites in very, very difficult conditions. In total, there are currently 6.7 million people internally displaced in the DRC, most of them in eastern DRC. It's the second largest internally displaced population in Africa after the Sudan. The security situation has also remained volatile up north in the province of Ituri, where attacks on civilians by armed groups are frequent. For example, we've seen over the past few days a worrying escalation of violence in some of the Ituri territories, with tit-for-tat attacks between two armed groups, causing many civilian casualties after a period in which some improvement had been observed. We can also note the activism of a group called ADF, the Allied Democratic Forces, that is also causing a lot of casualties and misery. There are also other pockets of instability and tension in other parts of the DRC. For example, in the province called Mai-Dombe, which is near Kinshasa, a conflict that's been going on for almost 2 years now, and also in the Chopo province in the center of the country. Finally, the country is also currently affected by very, very severe floods affecting 2 million people and many provinces across the country, with the Congo River at its highest level since 1961. Because of all of this, and since my last briefing update to you in July 2023, the humanitarian situation has sadly worsened on various fronts. As you know, the crisis in the DRC is one of the most severe, complex, prolonged, protracted, and neglected in the world. It has been going on for 30 years. Every time I speak to displaced people in eastern DRC, the message is the same. They want peace, they want security, they are so tired, they want to return home, they want to cultivate their land, they want to regain their autonomy and their dignity. The children want to go to school, the teenagers want to attend vocational training, they want to learn a profession, because all this has gone on for too long, 30 years. This morning in Kinshasa, jointly with the government of the DRC, we launched the 2024 Humanitarian Response Plan, and I want to share a few pointers. There are 25.4 million people in need in the DRC, which is about 1 Congolese out of 4, which is the number of food insecure people. This is the highest number of food insecure people in the world, and this is an anomaly considering the vast agricultural potential of the DRC. There are 8.4 million people affected by acute malnutrition, mainly children under 5. Gender-based violence, sexual violence has reached a dramatic level, with nearly 110,000 cases reported in 2023, which is probably the tip of the iceberg. The crisis in the DRC is very much a protection crisis. The worsened situation also had an impact on epidemics, notably measles and cholera. There were nearly 15,000 cases of cholera confirmed in 2023, double the number of the previous year. When it comes to the operating environment, for the humanitarian, it is very challenging. The DRC was in 2023 one of the most dangerous operating theaters in the world for the humanitarian. There are also, we are facing security challenges, administrative obstacles, and many access issues. There are also multiple violations of human rights and international humanitarian law, and we call on all actors to respect those. Civilians should not be a target. Infrastructure such as school, clinics, and hospitals should not be a target, and humanitarian should not be a target. The humanitarian intervention in 2024 will also take place in a context marked by the start of the gradual, responsible, and organized withdrawal of MONUSCO, the UN peacekeeping mission, which has been there through MONUC and MONUSCO since 1999. This withdrawal, which is now underway in the province of South Kivu. MONUSCO has the protection of civilians at the heart of its mandate and has significant logistical and security capabilities. Its gradual departure will certainly have an impact on humanitarian operations, especially in terms of access. It is therefore important for partners to adapt and prepare themselves to operate in a context where MONUSCO will no longer be there. Out of the 25.4 million people in need, our 2024 humanitarian response plan is targeting 8.7 million people, the most severely affected, mostly in Eastern DRC. This plan is the most prioritized plan among the 10 largest response plans worldwide. Priority requirements are in that order: food security, nutrition, health, protection, water and sanitation, and shelter. This plan is amounting to $2.6 billion. In 2022, the DRC response plan was funded at 53%. In 2023, it was funded at 40%. This was a sharp drop between 2022 and last year. Still, we were able to provide assistance to 5 million people, but with many not receiving assistance. We understand the multiplicity of crises in the world and the pressure on funding. Some crises are less neglected than others, they are more prioritized, but we are asking the international community to pay special attention to the immense suffering that there is in Eastern DRC. Finally, I would like to say that if humanitarian assistance is indispensable to save lives and deserve full support, it is not the solution to humanitarian problems, as we know. Political and regional solutions are required for the DRC. political processes need to be supported. There are two political processes that have largely stalled in 2023. They are called the Nairobi process and the Luanda process. More needs to be done also in the DRC on prevention and risk reduction to prevent conflicts from happening in the first place, but also disasters, since the DRC is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change in the world and one of the least ready so far to address climate shocks. Much more also needs to be done at national, regional, and global level to tackle the well-known root of those conflicts, the underlying drivers, the Gordian knot, I call them. They are the intractable knots, including the exploitation of natural resources, first and foremost, conflict minerals, the question of illicit financial flow, and land-related issues. Let's not forget that the DRC is a country of opportunity with immense economic potential and exceptional natural resources. It has been framed by President Tshisekedi as a solution country for climate change, providing critical minerals for green technologies to support the global energy transition, but also for storing a large proportion of the world's carbon dioxide in the Congo Basin forest. This forest is the first one to sequestrate carbon in the world. However, most of the population cannot benefit from this exceptional wealth due to the current instability and violence, especially in the eastern provinces. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Bruno. We will take your questions now. Any questions for Bruno? Gabriel, Al Jazeera.
Hello. Gabriel Zondo from Al Jazeera English. Thank you very much for the briefing. As MONUSCO begins to draw down in the DRC, what do you see as the biggest challenge in getting humanitarian aid to those that need it the most in the coming months as MONUSCO draws down forces?
Go ahead, Bruno.
So as I said, we need to, the word I use a lot with my humanitarian colleagues is detox. So we need to prepare the detox phase to adjust and to be ready to operate in a context where MONUSCO won't longer be there. Most of our humanitarian colleagues in the world, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Somalia, in Ethiopia, they work in contexts where there are no peacekeeping operation, and they are doing the job. So during those few months ahead of us, we really have to look at the safety and security measures for staff. So we are working with UNDSS in planning the next security arrangement for the DRC without MONUSCO. We are working a lot with our colleagues from the World Food Programme on aviation issues, with the UN Humanitarian Air Service, so that we can adjust. We will have to work, we work a lot already with local Congolese organizations, but they are the frontliners, so we will have to work even more with them. There might be instances where it won't be possible to reach. The Eastern DRC is very challenging context from an infrastructure point of view, and MONUSCO had a lot of assets, a lot of helicopters and so on. So basically there will be challenges, we will adjust. This disengagement of MONUSCO will be phased. That means it's happening now in South Kivu. With the government, we are having a very constructive dialogue about it. We will do joint evaluation on a regular basis to learn from that disengagement, to see how it's going. There are many responsibilities that will now fall on the shoulder of the DRC government, because they will be responsible for the protection of civilians, for ensuring security and so on. But we will learn from South Kivu before moving to the other provinces.
Thank you. Ibtisam?
Thank you. My name is Ibtisam Azim, Al Arabi Al Jadid newspaper. I have two follow-ups. First, could you elaborate regarding the issue of finance, and what would that, if you don't get the money you need, what would that mean for your programs, I know you touched a little bit upon it, but if you could elaborate on that. And the second question, beside the challenges you talked about regarding financing, what would you say your biggest additional challenge for your work? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in terms of financing, as I said, we are asking for 2.6 billion, and this is to provide what we call multi-sectoral assistance to 8.7 million people. The first ticket item on the list is food security, because of that mega food insecurity situation in the conflict zone of the DRC. So 1.2 billion out of the 2.6 is going to food security. The second largest ticket item is nutrition. The third is health, because of all the multiple epidemics. Sometime in the Congo, there are 6 epidemics at the same time. So this is a very challenging situation. And then because we know that most likely it's a bit of a dream to think that all this response plan will be funded. So I won't give you everything, but I have here the list of what happens if we don't respond. So if we don't respond, so many people, so many million people will not get the support they deserve. Me as humanitarian coordinator with my colleagues from OCHA, we will have to make tough choices, because we have to choose where do we invest. It's very hard when there are so many needs. Yeah. The other question was.
Yeah. Hold on, she had a second question.
On
other
challenges. Yes.
Yeah. The other challenge is the lack of progress on political processes. So this is about the Congo and the region. There are processes that have been set in place. The Nairobi process, which was mostly about encouraging armed groups to disarm and to join the national program on demobilization, disarmament, and community reintegration. And this process has been facilitated by former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. And then there is a second process under the aegis of the African Union called the Luanda process, that is led by the President of Angola, that was about bringing DRC and Rwanda together and to dialogue. And both processes have largely stalled in 2023. So the resumption of political processes is key to resolve some of the thorny issue and to contribute to peace and stability in Eastern DRC.
Thank you. Abdelhamid?
Thank you. My name is Abdelhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. One of my questions you just answered about the involvement of African Union. But my other question about the flash appeal of last year and how much it was fulfilled by international community. Did you receive like 100% of the flash appeal, or how much you received? Thank you.
$2 billion. We were funded.
Can you repeat? We lost you.
Bruno, if you could start again, because we lost you at the start of the question.
Sorry. So I was saying our appeal last year was $2.2 billion. So this year appeal is bigger because there are more needs. We were funded at 40%, which is a drop of 13% between 2022 and 2023, which was very bad news. 40% was about $900 million. So that's what we raised last year.
Thank you. Ephraim, Arab News.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lemarquis, 2 questions. I know that amid all the millions of Congolese that you just described, their situation as really catastrophic, there are also 500,000 refugees from different countries in Africa taking refuge in the Congo. I think, if I'm not mistaken, from South Sudan, from Tanzania, from Burundi. What is the situation, and can you say something to the level of vulnerability of that segment of the population? That's one. Second, is there any particular country you'd like or you think or you expect to come forward with the funding first? Is your message directed at a particular group of countries, perhaps maybe countries that have had a hand in creating the crisis in Congo in the first place? Who should be the first one to listen to your briefing today? Thank you.
Thank you for the two questions. So there are indeed many refugees from neighboring countries who have taken refuge in the DRC, from the Central African Republic, especially from CAR, from South Sudan, from Burundi. I think there are about half a million. There is a lot of work with UNHCR to do everything we can to integrate them, to provide support to them. They are in very, very remote location, very hard to reach, alongside the borders of those countries. There are also a lot of Congolese refugees in neighboring countries, and later this week, UNHCR will launch its regional refugee response plan for the Congolese refugees in neighboring countries. So those people also should not be among the one left behind, together with the internally displaced people. In terms of, we are calling for the world to support the DRC. So there are the usual donors to the DRC, and I must say that, like in other humanitarian response, the US is by far our largest donor, and they have confirmed this morning during the launch of our response plan that they will do everything they can, and that the DRC will be one of the largest, if not the largest humanitarian operation in 2024. But we are also calling for other bilaterals to step up, and we are also calling for other countries who have also interest in the DRC to also come to the rescue in terms of funding. So we thank all of them. We are also discussing, like in many other countries, the relationship between the UN and the international financial institution when it comes to maybe not pure humanitarian assistance, relief assistance, but when it comes to resilience programming, or to working for refugees, like the World Bank and UNHCR, very, very strong cooperation. So it's also because a lot of the money is also with the international financial institution.
Thank you, Bruno. Any other questions? Excellent. Bruno, thank you so much for coming in and briefing us. You're always welcome back, and thanks again for your patience in waiting for the briefing to start.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci à toi, Bruno. All right.